What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Shoe Booty Sports. This is your host, Graham Powell, co-host there on the other screen, Bradley Brown. Say what's up, Brad.
What's going on?
We got lots of stuff going on, lots of stuff to talk about. First, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, Shoe Booty Sports is presented by Rhino Races. Rhino Races is a virtual race series that offers 5 different races: a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and the Rhino Ultra. You can sign up for one or all 5 of their races at rhinoraces.com. Run your race at your convenience. Track it with your fitness app of choice. Screenshot your results as proof of completion. Submit that screenshot to rhinoraces.com under the Submit Results section. Once your results are verified by Rhino Races staff, your award will be shipped to you by mail. Also, check out their gear section for t-shirts, wristbands, decals, and more. That's rhinoraces.com. Rhino Races is the premier virtual running series. Rocking the shirt right now for those of you watching on Spotify and YouTube. And you can follow us, Shoe Booty Sports, on Twitter, X, at Shoe Booty Sports. I can't recall if I plugged the other socials, but you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. And again, X, Twitter, what have you, at Shoe Booty Sports. Send all your hate tweets and likes there. Okay, so let's start things off with what's become the biggest topic of the week in sports, the whole Clark and Chennedy Carter flagrant foul, and now Angel Reese has chimed in. Anytime she opens her mouth or gets on her phone, she's going to find a way to stir the pot, create controversy, or just get people talking. Any of those three. And let's start things off with the flagrant foul on Clark, Chennedy Carter. You've probably seen the replay, I don't know, 5, 10 times. I've seen it at least 20, getting kind of tired of looking at it now, but I have a pretty good understanding of it. What's your assessment of the call? And well, it originally wasn't called a flagrant. It was just called a common foul.
Yeah. I was watching the game live, and I thought it should have been called during the game and not just after the game. I have no idea who Chennedy Clark or Carter is. I just now learned that her name is actually Kennedy. But
What
yeah,
were you calling her? Chennedy?
Chennedy.
That's what my eyes tell you. It's the weirdest way to spell
You
Kennedy ever.
never know nowadays. So
That's true. It's at least an
she
original form of spelling. I'll give her that.
she looks like a Chennedy. She looks rough.
She is she's got a nice set of arms on her. I'll give her that.
Yeah,
In the replays I've seen where she's not even really flexing, it's like, okay, her tricep game is pretty on point.
yeah.
So that's probably a fair assessment. She does look like, and if you look at her resume, and she made the comment, I'm more than just that clip you saw. And so, like, okay, well, that's all that we've seen, and that's all that we can go by. And we can also go by what your reputation has been around the league since you've been in the league. You were the number 4 overall pick, I believe, but she's bounced around from team to team
Yeah.
because of her behavior. Conduct detrimental to the team on 2 occasions, I believe. And that's why she was no longer with the Atlanta Dream, and then I believe it was the LA Sparks, center packing too after another conduct detrimental to the team. Whatever behavior, obviously not a good thing. Was out of the league, I think, even last year for a
Yeah.
large chunk of it, maybe altogether. And so this is all we have to go by on Chennedy Carter. Now, I understand what she's saying, talking about you don't know what led up to that, and you can see the video of the two mouthing at each other,
Yeah.
but you're mouthing at each other when you
Yeah.
turn physical and cheap shotting, hockey checking, the opposing player from behind, getting physical with it. That's when you're crossing the line. I don't mind
Yeah.
you mouthing. I don't mind you trash talking. But hockey checking her like that and then calling her the B word, that's it's a little too far, but it's mostly just the physicalness that I have a problem with because I don't know what Caitlin Clark said. She might have said something similar, but when you start cheap shotting, yeah, that's when I start to have a problem with it, and that's why you're getting this criticism and attention because and also based on the things she said since. What did she say immediately after in the press conference? Or what does she bring to the table besides 3-point shooting? Well, one, she brings an audience. That's the biggest thing she brings to your game. She brings an audience, something that the WNBA league has never seen. The
Yeah.
league has been around since we were young teenagers. I remember being like 14 years old and them talking 13, 14, and them talking about starting at the WNBA. I remember that. And guess
Yeah.
what? Ever since the league hasn't made any money. It's made no money. And then you have a phenomenon come around in Caitlin Clark and brings an audience with her. And you're finally going to start making money. And this is the way that she's being treated around the league. I'm not saying you should roll. I'm not saying that her and the other players should roll out the red carpet for her to an extent, but the jealousy, the pettiness, the cheap shots, all that, it's there's no place for it. It's not going to stop. I mean, there's too much. There's not a way to control it. If you're the league, you at least have to step in, and if there is a commissioner, because it doesn't look like they have much of one to this point,
No.
you got to find a way to control this. The cheap shots. I mean, Caitlin Clark is being legit targeted, and when you see and here's another example. When you see like the flagrant that Kennedy Carter had or committed on Caitlin Clark, you see Angel Reese jumping up and cheering like they won the championship, celebrating it. So you can't tell me that there isn't something extra there.
Yeah.
And we all know what it is. I mean, there's race involved. It's pettiness, it's jealousy, it's just straight up woman stuff too. Just the level of pettiness that we're dealing with. It's it's wild, but the league has to find a way to get this under control because it's getting out of hand, and it's a bad look. It's a bad look on the league.
They can start by fining them more than $50. I mean, I know they don't make near as much as the NBA, the guys do, but $50 fine, I mean, that's not going to, deter anybody from doing that. So make it a grand at least minimum, especially if it's away from any action like that one was.
And another thing, where were her teammates? Where were
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark's teammates? I can see why you had the number one pick. Your play is soft, and so is your toughness. To let your star player, your marquee player, get checked like that, and then nobody does anything about it. They just run over to help her up. Not getting Kennedy Carter's face, nothing like that. Uh, what happened in the South Carolina LSU game and the SEC championship game? One of the guards did something, and then South Carolina's Camilla Cardosa, I believe is her name,
Yeah.
went over and essentially bodied that girl. It's uh, it, that's the kind of play, and of course, obviously, the Indiana Fever don't have a Camilla Cardosa who's on the Chicago Sky on that same team that Kennedy Carter's on. But the Indiana Fever doesn't have an enforcer, but still, you got to have somebody step in and step up for your teammate. All of them need to, and that's just embarrassing to not have your star players back like that. You've seen it in hockey since the beginning of time. I know it's hockey, but so somebody goes after the team star player, there's an enforcer there to take care of business and handle it and not let it go any further. They step in and they handle business. I still think of Udonis Haslem for the Miami Heat. Why do you think he had a 20-year playing career? The last of which he never really saw the floor. He was mainly just an assistant coach with a jersey on. He was the enforcer of that team. Look at the Heat when they had the finals runs with, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. I still remember when David West, I believe this is when he was with the Pacers. Yeah, tried to, Mario Chalmers was always the guy that got picked on, even by his own teammates in Miami. But I remember David West trying to go over and confront Mario Chalmers, and David West was one of those kind of pretend tough guys, kind of like Draymond. And then you see, as soon as he goes over to little Mario Chalmers, UD steps in the way, mouthpiece hanging out the side of his mouth, finger up, ready for anything. And then suddenly David West wasn't so tough anymore. That's the kind of player, and Udonis Haslams don't come around all the time. But that's the kind of player the Fever need to protect their superstar. And they clearly don't have that. You're watching the game live. I haven't watched much of the Fever. One, it's been a time issue for me. Two, they're not good. That's a tough team to put eyeballs on.
I
On a
say
regular
watching it.
basis.
I was watching it, while whatever else I was watching was on commercial, but I was still watching. So
Now,
most
if
I've
I were
ever watched
sitting
WNBA in its lifespan. So just in these last 2 weeks.
Now, if I were sitting in front of the TV, I would have been watching it, but I have been busy these last couple of weekends. My race schedule resumed this Saturday. I got to mow the yard every weekend. Got a lot going on, so I haven't been able to watch as many Fever games as I'd like. But let's go to Angel Reese and her comments. Now she got fined after the Fever Sky game, which the Fever actually beat them that day. That's the other thing. It's not like Chennedy Carter and Angel Reese and company won the game. They lost to a bad Fever team. It was a 1 point game, so it was a good game, at least score wise. But Angel Reese didn't make herself available to media after the game, so she got fined for that. She and Chennedy Carter met with the media after practice or before practice. It looked like because they looked pretty, or at least Angel Reese looked kind of dolled up. So it might have been before practice. I don't know. They weren't sweaty, is my point. But
Yeah.
It was very Angel Reese. It's she basically said this all started in the national championship game, the LSU Iowa national championship game in 2023.
Yeah.
And one, that's just not the case. That's not true. There were, I believe, more viewers when Iowa played South Carolina in the Final Four before that. And I started watching Caitlin Clark really all season that season. And I had heard of her the year before. Now I didn't start tuning in until that following season. But the eyes didn't come for the national championship game that year. And so that's incorrect. Caitlin Clark brought an audience before that game. Now it's grown since then, but no, there was a very large audience before that. Two, Angel Reese said it's not just one person that's bringing all the attention, the eyes to the league. They're watching her too. They're tuning in to see her too. Angel Reese, that is.
I'm not.
I'm personally, and many others are not tuning in to watch Angel Reese take flat-footed layups and shoot free throws. I'm sorry, that's just not the case. Like you're
Average. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say she's average. She's
gonna say
a good
average of almost 10 points a game. So
well, she's a good player, but she's nothing that we haven't seen before.
yeah.
That's the point. Like we've seen Lisa Leslie, we've seen Candace Parker, we've seen all these, bigs, as in, post players that were dominant in the WNBA because they were bigger than everybody else. They were bigger than everybody, and they had some athleticism to them. That's Lisa Leslie. That's Candace Parker. That's Angel Reese. And there's nothing special that Angel Reese does that's going to get me to tune in. Would I want her on my team? Absolutely, because of her size. And look at Camila Cardosa on the same team and at South Carolina this year. There was nothing fundamentally aesthetically pleasing watching her play. She was just bigger than everybody and grabbing boards and putting it back. And that's going to win games. Angel Reese, same way. Angel Reese is popular because of her antics. She's popular. Yeah, she's become popular because, like, your most famous play is a taunt. Okay. Caitlin Clark set the NCAA scoring record with a logo 3. There's flair to that. And I mean, there's just a jealousy there that a lot of people don't want to talk about. A lot of people in mainstream media don't want to talk about. Now, the PTI guys, Kornheiser and Wilbon, had no problem talking about it. Pat McAfee has had no problem talking about it. Now, he's got Caitlin Clark as a regular every week, so he's got a little incentive to do so. But apart from those 3 guys, I haven't seen really anybody else tell it like it is. I did see Dan Patrick today say, basically, no, people are tuning in to see Caitlin Clark. They're not tuning in to see Angel Reese because of what I said, and he said it too. We've seen this before. We've seen that kind of player time and time again in the sport. There's nothing transcendent or eye-popping about it. We've seen this before. We have never seen a female basketball player like Caitlin Clark. She's the female Steph. And the people that want to say, the Jamel Hills, the Asia Wilson, saying it's because she's white. Okay, well, Diana Taurasi was probably the best women's player I've seen before her. I mean, she's white, isn't she? You got Sabrina Ionesco, beautiful young woman, by the way. Terrific shooter. Breanna Stewart, probably maybe the best player in the league right now, along with Asia Wilson, was the MVP of the league, I think, last year. 4-time national champion at UConn. She wasn't bringing eyes to the league, to the sport. Race has nothing to do with it. It's the way that Caitlin Clark plays. Caitlin Clark could be purple, and I'm tuning in just as much because I want to see that style of play, night in, night out. So the people saying that, no, like I heard Becky Hammond say in a post, the Aces coach. She did say, let's give Caitlin Clark her flowers, but then she talked about how I believe she said, quote, the black and brown women weren't represented enough. It's because it's because of everything I just said. It's the same thing we've seen in the last 20 years. It's the same style of play. There's nothing different about it.
Yeah.
We've had no problem celebrating Michael Jordan. We've had no problem celebrating Tiger Woods, Mike Tyson, Ken Griffey Jr. in his prime. It's got nothing to do with race. It's got everything to do with style of play. Now, are there going to be people that are going to – I don't think people are tuning in to say, oh, I'm going to root for the white girl. I'm sure that there's some people that are doing that, sure. In anything that's going to be the case in every race. Like, hey, I identify with that person. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that unless you're just rooting against someone because of the color of their skin. But that's the whole thing's just getting way out of hand. The league needs to find a way to crack down on the straight up abuse that Caitlin Clark is taking. Now, I will say this on the body check Kennedy Carter put on her. I thought Caitlin Clark flopped a little bit.
Yeah.
It looked worse, or she made it look worse than I think it really was. But it's still a flagrant foul. It's still not a basketball play, as Caitlin Clark said. And the other thing, Kennedy Carter dishing it out and then saying after in the post-game presser, she's not answering questions about Caitlin Clark, but then you're going to get on Twitter and talk about it. You're fine talking about it on Twitter, but you're not going to talk about it to the press. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Like own what you did. If you're gonna do it, own it. I'd say own it like Angel Reese, like owns the villain role, but she doesn't own the villain role. She as soon as things go sour, she owns the victim role, like we saw when they got ousted in the NCAA tournament last season.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, it's a hot topic, but I'd like to see more people have a more honest take and discussion about it rather than the safe takes I've heard throughout. Basically, I would say listen to the PTI guys talk about it. They spoke of it as intelligently and eloquently as anyone could, 10 times better than I could possibly do. So
Agreed. Yeah.
everything they said, I just feel was spot on, and I side with those guys 100%.
Yep.
Anything to add to that, Brad, before we move on?
No, not really. So you can go back to what you're saying about Angel Reese, kind of flip flopping on her things, playing the victim. She was saying what women were being sexualized in the game, and this was after she did the swimsuit edition
Well, she said
for.
that she had been sexualized, and this was after their NCAA tournament loss. So this was months ago. I haven't heard her say anything about that since. We've covered that on the show. She's been says she's been sexualized. Yet we've seen her Instagram, her stories. They're a little bit provocative to say the least. And you took a pretty penny from Sports Illustrated, I'm sure, to post for their swimsuit issue. So you sexualized yourself there. But that's yeah. I'll try to say something positive about Angel Reese. She makes it difficult for me sometimes. I don't dislike the girl or anything like that, but it's hard to agree with about anything she does. I will say it's nice to see her bring I guess a certain feminism to the game. Because I mean she looks really nice walking into the arena. I'm like, okay, that's nice to see. Other than uh, hoodies and things like that walking into the arena. She dresses nice, although I don't know where. I see that she's taken stake in a soccer club. I heard that she bought like a $170,000 vehicle, and I'm like, I assume her NIL money was out of this world because she was successful in college. I mean, she did win a national championship. Um, so I guess that's where she's able to afford all this because she's sure not affording it off of her WNBA salary. She spent her first like three years worth of her contract already, at least. So
Yeah,
for her sake, I
that's
would
just on her car. So
yeah, I would say for her sake, watch. You might need a financial person help you out there a little bit, so you're not broke in 10 years. But that's none of my business. Who knows? She may go on to do. I don't know. But the point, I still wouldn't be comfortable spending that kind of money if I were her. All right, but I don't have anything to add except your next chance to be able to watch the Indiana Fever will be against the Washington Mystics at 6:30 p.m. on Friday. I thought maybe it was on Amazon Prime, but it could be on Ion. I watched one of the Fever games on Ion, which I forgot was even a channel.
I didn't even know that was a thing. So,
Exactly. I saw that they were playing on YouTube TV, and it was on Ion. So I was like, okay, and then it put me on that game. But I'll say this too. Here's another thing about the WNBA that just baffles me. You bring in the biggest star your league seen. And again, I'm not saying the greatest player because she's not a great WNBA player yet. Caitlin Clark, that is.
yeah,
But she's coming fresh off of a long season at Iowa, going through the tournament to the national championship game again for a second year in a row. And then you throw her on television every night, which I understand why, but give her a night off. They had played 11 games, and like in the defending champion, Aces had played 6. So give your girl a night off. She finally got a bit of a break this week. This has got to be their longest time off. I even saw a video of her, Caitlin Clark, as I believe it was their last game. It was an away game, and she's going up to all these kids waiting to meet her. And you can see you can just tell by the look on her face. She's exhausted. She doesn't want to be doing this. She doesn't want to have to go do that, but she does it. Like she walks over. She can't hide her face. She can't hide how probably stressed out she is, hearing all this talk about her, getting in the middle of all this BS drama when Kennedy Carter, Angel Reese and company. And but when they turn to take a picture, she smiles. She puts a smile on her face, like the tough, bad mother effer she is. And yeah, is she perfect? Of course not. Do I agree with everything she does? Of course not. But I can say that about anybody. But overall, she's a fine player, fine person, and just a fun player to watch. And to see that, I mean, the gal needs a break. So, league, take better care of what's going to be the face of your league for the next 10 years. If you're lucky, if she doesn't get roughed up and roughed out of the league before that. So, get a commissioner and do your damn job. That's all I got to say on it. Okay. So, more basketball. Okay, let's squeeze this in real quick. The Arkansas basketball team has apparently Trevon Brazile is back on the team. I saw that today. What was your instant reaction when you saw that?
I wasn't shocked. I mean, he was testing out the NBA waters. Not shocked that he didn't find them to his liking. Um, yeah,
I believe everybody could see that, but him. But yeah, continue.
Yeah. Yeah, not shocked. Glad he's coming back. Hopefully, I mean, surely he has a better season than he did this last season. Kind of fell off. So hopefully we can have him for the full season, healthy, fully healthy, and he scores lots of points for us.
Kind of fell off the cliff is an understatement. He looked like he was going to be a phenom type of player in year one before he got hurt. And he didn't look he didn't even look like a ball player last year. I mean, he didn't look like he knew what he was doing out there. He was hanging out on the perimeter, and a guy that big and or at least tall, with that wingspan, and he's not a good shooter, and yet he was hanging out on the perimeter. It made no sense how Muss was utilizing him. I don't think Muss knew what to do with him. I think if anybody can figure it out, it's Coach Cal. I'd love to see him do a lot more cutting to the basket with it for those highlight style plays, those putbacks and things like that. Post up some. You don't have to bang, bang, bang. But I mean, post up some. I mean, show some versatility in your game. Don't go hang out on the perimeter and throw up bricks all game. You're not helping anybody out there. If we can get the guy that was around the first year, I would love to see Trevon Brazile back. If it's more like what we saw last year, he's just not going to play. I mean, Cal's not going to have him out there. But I'm not displeased. I wouldn't say I'm thrilled. I was more just surprised. I was surprised. I was surprised to see that he was back. I'm not surprised he wasn't going to get any attention in the NBA after last season, but I'm surprised he's back at Arkansas. I'll say that. But I think it's the right move if you're him. If Cal's going to have you, I think it's definitely the right move.
Yeah.
If you're Trevon Brazile. Okay. Well, let's do an NBA Finals preview. Now we actually had the first NBA Finals preview that was ever put out there last Tuesday. We called it. Mavs didn't win that last Tuesday night, but they got it done in mega fashion the following Thursday, I guess it was. Yeah, they were up essentially almost 30 the entire game. I picked the Mavs in 7. You picked Boston in 6, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Even though I'll be rooting for the Mavs.
Yes. Are you sticking to that?
I'll say Boston in 7, not 6.
Okay, so you're changing it up. I'm sticking to what I said. I got Dallas in 7. I think Boston on paper is the better team. I don't see how you can go from just from top to bottom on the roster and say that Dallas is better. I don't think you can legitimately say that. But I think Dallas, with the addition of Daniel Gafford, their size down low, and just the superstar factor. You got Luka, who's going to be the best player on that floor for either team. And if you can get the Kyrie Irving that's looked like he has this postseason, which was 2016 Kyrie Irving with Cleveland, then I'm going to give Dallas the edge. I think we're going to see a lot of close games. I don't think we're going to see any blowouts, maybe one or two. Just, because the Celtics tend to have a night off every now and then, but then they'll come back and punch you in the mouth. They're a little bit frustrating of a great team to watch. I say great. You got to win a championship to really be great, but it's a really good team. They're the most talented team in the league from top to bottom, I would say. Boston, that is. I still got Dallas in 7, and it's Luka, Kyrie, and Daniel Gafford. I think Daniel Gafford is going to be that X factor, and yeah, it's going to be a fun series to watch. I'm really looking forward to it. But no changes here. I got Dallas in 7. You got Boston in 7. So, man, this should be a fun series.
Just hoping for some close competitive games, man. We've had a lot of blowouts in these playoffs.
Well, in the conference finals, now the conference finals, there were a lot of close games. It's just Dallas ended up on the winning side of it. Boston ended up on the winning side of it. Now, there were blowouts in there too, especially in the end game, right? At least in the Western Conference Finals for sure. But I think we're going to get a really good series, man, and I'm looking forward to it. Really, something we haven't had since Golden State and Boston. That was a close series. Now, Golden State won it in 6, but those games were pretty close. All of them really could have gone either way. I think this will be. I think this is going to be even tighter. I think Boston's just better. They're better on paper, but not by much. And the superstar factor, I'll take Luka and Kyrie over Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But those other guys could make the difference too. And Boston really has more of those than Dallas. We could debate this all day, but I'm going Dallas in 7. And yeah, starts Thursday. So man, looking forward to that. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Arkansas baseball, our alma mater, couldn't even get out of their own regional. And I picked the worst possible time to one. I didn't know the game was going on. I finally sat down and turned the TV on and saw that they were playing. So I turned it on. I turned it on just in time. It's 0-0. And this is when Arkansas was at bat and scored 2 runs and went up 2-0. So I'm like, all right, looking good, right? Looking good. And then Hagen Smith comes out. I'm like, oh, Hagen Smith's out there. He's money. Like it's might as well be over. We got 2 runs. That's all we need. This is the only time I've watched Hagen Smith pitch this year.
Your fault.
Yes. I mean, blame me. Hate tweets my way. Razorback faithful. Walks the first 2 batters and was just a crap show of an inning. Gave up 6 runs. Arkansas tried to battle, fell short in the end. Is it Peyton Holt? Is that his name? Had an awful at bat with runners in scoring position with 2 outs. Then hit a dinger, like a solo shot, his next at bat, but still the damage had already been done. Lose a close one to Kansas State, and then you drop the following game the next afternoon to SEMO. Everybody calling him SEMO. That bugs me a little bit. Southeast Missouri State. And yeah, your season's done just like that. I'm not surprised based on how that team, who was number 1 almost all of the season, regular season, and then just completely came crashing down the stretch. Had an awful lost the last 2 series or 2 of the last 3 series in the regular season to Kentucky and Texas A&M, and then you just put on an embarrassing performance in the SEC tournament. It's no surprise to me Arkansas floundered down the stretch. Dave Van Horn's got a lifetime gig as far as I'm concerned. No one in their right mind is going to say he should ever be on the hot seat. But
fire the hitting coach.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, that's been the problem. These guys have had no offense the last several years, and if you have
Zero.
no
Yeah.
offense, it's not going to do any good. How'd the Atlanta Braves do with all that with that Hall of Fame rotation in the '90s? They got one championship because they couldn't get it done with the bats. I mean, they had a couple good hitters, but that was it. You got one championship to show for it. Razorbacks don't even have that.
We had the lowest team batting average out of any of the teams that entered the regionals.
And I believe your 3 and 4 hitter are below 300 average. You know, Peyton Stovall was the only guy that had really a decent batting average of anybody in the lineup. So disappointing to see. But yeah,
Not surprised.
another disappointing end to Razorback baseball, which has been the norm. And that's the only criticism I would say of DBH's reign as of late. It's We've come to expect a disappointing ending
Yeah.
earlier than it should be at least. So, um, Razorback baseball done, but the Women's College World Series starts tomorrow night. A very exciting semifinal game earlier today. Oklahoma beat Florida after dropping losing one to the Gators the night before last night. They went on a walk-off homer to win 6-5 in that one to advance to the Women's College World Series championship game. They will face Texas, two soon-to-be SEC schools. Number 1 Texas, number 2 Oklahoma. Oklahoma 57-7 on the year, going for their 4th straight national championship. Texas was the 1 seed. I mean, they're 55-8 record-wise, so looks to be evenly matched teams. Oklahoma is going to have the championship edge, though, going for their 4th national championship. Now, this team isn't as near as dominant as these last few years, as Oklahoma's been the last 3 seasons. So I think it's going to be a more interesting national championship. I'll tune into as much of it as I can just to see that. Okay, and we'll get out of here on this. We got the Stanley Cup Final begins Saturday. Saturday at 7 p.m. We got the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. So traditional franchise in Edmonton, made popular by Wayne Gretzky, of course, the great one. And the Florida Panthers, which is in like Sunrise, Florida, or something like that, where they're based, but are claiming the whole state name. Opinions can vary on that, but who we got in that one? We'll get out of here on this. We don't watch any hockey, but we're still going to make picks on it because why not? I got the Florida Panthers, and I got them in 7 games because it's hockey, and we always seem to have great Stanley Cup Finals, and I look forward to checking it out too. Who you got, Brad?
I'm going to roll with Edmonton. I actually I got to tune in for a couple of the games between them and Dallas this past week. I don't know, man. I just got to have the feeling they get it done. I'll go ahead and say Edmonton in 6.
All right, Edmonton is 6 for Brad. I got Florida in 7 for me. We'll see how it goes. NBA Finals again Thursday night. We'll be back next week to talk all about it. Till then, this is your host, Graham Powell. That's co-host Bradley Brown. Deuces, y'all.
Peace.